Kevin, I love that we're wearing the same colors.
Oh, like it was planned. It's
I
great.
know, right?
How are you today?
I am so good. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. The weather's finally kind of breaking where I'm at, so it's been an extended winter until about a week ago. So now it's like 90 degrees. So it's been.
Where are you at? May I ask?
I am in New Jersey. So
New Jersey.
yes,
How wonderful. I was just in upstate New York a couple weeks ago.
I love it there. I'm actually about to move to the West Coast in 2 weeks. So these are my last 2 weeks in New Jersey. So it's been
Oh,
been very, very interesting. The weather's like, oh, now we're gonna be nice. So it's been pretty
all
cool.
right. Great. Well,
So
congratulations.
first and
Go.
foremost, I want to say, really big fan. I was actually put onto the show by a good friend of mine who works for the BBC network, and she was like, "Listen, I do a lot of screenwriting myself. I've been doing this for a long time." She was like, "This is right up your alley," and I was not disappointed. So I have like a million questions, both from a journalistic standpoint, but as a fan as well. So bear with me. Um, so how did we get to this point? Like, I always want to know the the process in which this script was kind of put in front of you. Like, how did we get here?
So, Sean Tube, who plays my husband. So, I play a character named Nahid Kamali, and I'm the wife of the head of the intelligence system in Iran, played beautifully by Sean Tube. Sean Tube and I played on another Apple TV show called Little America. This was a year before the first season of Tehran came out. And Little America is an anthology series about immigrants living in America, and it's just a lovely show. So your fans who would like to see another show, that's a great show to watch. But because we played man and wife and we had such rapport with each other, when Sean got the Tehran role, he suggested me. They were originally interested in another actress. I think she lives in London,
Mhm.
but Sean mentioned that, there's this actress and she's already played my wife twice. We also did another movie before that. And so they let me do an audition and I auditioned and I got in.
And honestly, I can feel. I think that's the first thing I felt because I watched Little America. So for
Yeah.
me to watch you guys interact with each other was like, wow, it's a very natural. It just looks like it's very hard to find that authenticity
Mm.
when you haven't been right for those type of characters. But watching that is like there's definitely like you guys have worked with each other and there's a comfort there, and it really shows in the acting. So I think that's one of my favorite parts, the interaction and that relationship and how it goes from where it was season one to where it's at season two without trying to give too many spoilers for people. Uh,
Mm.
so, uh, from the standpoint, one of the biggest things I noticed, I know it wasn't filmed in Tehran; it was actually filmed. I know it's in Greece, and I know authenticity. Going back to that is important. How knowing that there's a difference, but you have actors who are Iranian American, but you're acting like you're in Iran. Uh, what was that like? Like, was that a hard transition? Was that something that you felt like you had to work really hard to make Greece feel like that? What was that like?
The problem wasn't Greece because Greece is the architecture and the way the cities in Greece look really feels like Tehran. The issue was that I have not been back to Iran since I was 10 years old.
Okay.
So, and many of these actors as well, they all grew up in Europe, in different places in Europe, in Brussels and the UK. The difficulty was with the accent, to be able to speak Farsi as if we have been living in Iran all this time. And that was a challenge. That was the challenge. And also the character too. The character is so different from me. Um,
That's
because
my
of the
next
fact that
question.
he lives in Iran. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my next question. What is the difference, subtle or overt, compared to who you are versus what this character might bring, and what are the similarities, if any?
Um, no similarities. Like I cannot find a single similarity between myself and this character. She's someone who obviously lives in Iran. She's a character who was, well, here's a similarity. We both went to college outside of Iran, as I went to UCLA. So she was educated outside of Iran. So she was probably educated in the US because she speaks Farsi and she speaks English fluently and she speaks French fluently. So she's an educated character who decides to go back to Iran, to her homeland, and falls in love with the Faraz Kamali and makes her life in Iran. And she's someone who, I'm someone who I'm not a huge fan of the government, whereas Nahid Kamali has fallen in love with the leader of, one of the leaders of the government in Iran, someone who's very high end in the intelligence of Iran. So that takes a certain character. She's like a general's wife. She has a certain gravity and edge to her that I don't have as well.
So, so now going to the character, there's a clear transition from, I mean, the first season you were there, and then there were a couple episodes, and then you were there again. Now in season two, it's a completely. I feel like the transition from what you just described is easier to see, especially if someone watches season two. What is your thoughts? Or how do you feel the character arc is going? Like from what your expectations might have been season one to where you are now. Like, did you see any of that coming? And how much do you enjoy watching that arc grow?
Oh my goodness, I didn't see any of it coming. And I
That's
didn't
awesome.
think there was going to be, I didn't even know there was going to be a season two. And if there was a season two, I didn't even think I would be in it. I thought we're just done. They're just going to kill off my character and we're going to move on. I feel so grateful that the team, the Danny Sirkin, the director, and Donna, the producer, and Julian LaRue and Alan Alania, I love that they believed in my work enough from what they saw in season one, that they felt that I was able to handle such a strong arc of the character and to come back. So I'm just thrilled and grateful and very happy.
And again, I kid you not, I probably rewatched. I went and rewatched the first season, and then I was really happy to see that it got a second season. Sometimes with the streaming shows, it's you're crossing your fingers because the good ones never, get that second chance sometimes. So I was thrilled to know there was a second season. Um, did they really clue you in immediately as to where your character was going to go, or was that something that gradually came to be as uh, not as unexpected, but like you thought they were going to kill you off? But how happy were you when you saw, okay, wow, not only am I not getting killed off, but I'm going to become an important part of this?
I just loved this team so much, the Israeli team, the Greek team. Danny, the director, and I, we kept in touch. So throughout the pandemic, that was when they were writing season two. So we kept in touch on the phone, and on the phone, he told me, he said, we were talking one day and I was talking about acting schools and how, my goodness, I would love to take maybe a Larry Moss class and get my, really get into some meaty roles, even if it means to be doing it in a classroom situation. He said, well, we're going to give you that chance to do some meaty work, acting work in season two. So during the pandemic, as they were writing it, I had no idea where it was going to go, but I did know about the trauma that the character I'm playing was going through, and I knew that it was going to be a challenge to play.
So, what was the gap between the production? I know, like, I mean, as a person who kind of watched myself go super active in production, then the pandemic hit, and it was just like I was still getting a lot of writing work and polishing and stuff like that, but production wise, it just fell to earth. What was the gap between that season one and that season two?
It was
Like,
a huge gap because we finished we filmed season one in at the end of 2019,
mm,
and then the pandemic happened, so we didn't do anything in 2020, and then the end of 2021 is when we, like the fall of last year, is when we filmed season two.
oh wow, so you guys really pumped that season out. Yes,
Yeah, oh
wow.
yeah, that's what they do. This Danny and Donna are a producer director team that they just pump stuff out like that. Everything was filmed. It was very tight days. We didn't have any rehearsal
Oh,
at all. You
so
just jump in and go. You just jump in
wow.
and go. Yeah.
So that was like my next question, which would have been, because of that gap, did that, you know, in the most geopolitical type of stuff, type of projects, there's, there's either some seriousness on the set, and then you add on top of the fact that there was such a huge gap. Uh, did that affect anything, or did you guys just kind of walk back in going, "Hey, we got this. We know how we work with each other." No rehearsal, so you clearly had to get reacquainted. What was that like in terms of just being able to pick up and make sure that you were able to do the same thing quality wise, if not better?
I can only speak for myself. I do a lot of preparation when I do roles. So I came in, there was no rehearsal, but I was prepared enough, and I was prepared to work with Glenn Close. So I did extra preparation so that I wouldn't embarrass myself and make her hate me. And it was nerve-wracking, the preparation that led to it. But once we got on the set, it was that it was the same crew. We'd already had a rapport from season 1, and we knew, we already had a timing and knew each other, and except for season 2, thank you to Apple TV. It was amazing. I mean, it was like 5 times the crew size than we had in season 1, but it was great.
So, I mean, you've been really nailing my questions. Every time I'm like, all right, this is the one I want to ask. You've nailed it. So, like, my next one is, so Glenn Close, is a legend. Like, she's amazing. And what was it like going into, like, when you found out you were going to work with her? What was going through your mind when you knew you had to be able to, one on one with these scenes and be in these scenes with her? What was that like for you?
It was the actual PTSD was happening. So if I needed to study PTSD, it was just in my body every day. It was the most nerve-wracking preparation I've ever done. Preparation for me isn't fun anyway. It's like homework.
Yeah.
Who likes to do homework? So it's something that I have to push through and force myself to do. And this prep was especially nerve-wracking because I knew that what I'm preparing for, these other lines are going to be said by Glenn Close, who is a legend and one of my favorite actresses. And in preparing the scene, like, I was very aware that, okay, this is how my character, if she's feeling like this is how she would behave. She wouldn't even look this woman in the eye. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, but it's Glenn Close. How can I not look in the eye? How can I not? So it was really nerve-wracking. And it was filmed season 2 in 2 blocks for me.
Mm-hmm.
So the first block was so hard. And then it was after I saw what a she's lovely, Glenn Close. She's just lovely. And before going in, before meeting her for the first time, I watched some interviews of hers, and it was intimidating because in the interviews that I saw, at least those interviews that I saw, she came off as grave and heavy, and for me to work with, scary.
Mm-hmm.
So when we did our first scene together, which was, I think, the first scene that you see with Naheed and Marjan, right after the scene, she came up to me and she hugged me, and it was lovely, but I wasn't sure, is this just what's going on? And then moments later, I hear a commotion, and she has gathered all the crew to sing happy birthday to her best friend. And I'm like, oh my God, she's like a 5-year-old. Wow. And my inner child is 6 years old, so I'm even a year older than Glenn. So
That's awesome. Now, one of the things, as I was doing my research, I'm not sure if anyone's ever said this to you, but I really enjoy, like, just reading, like, going through, like, your career arc, the shorts, and you seem like an actor's actor. Like, you're like, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna really get thorough, and whether it's a short or a feature or a series, you're gonna go into that with 100%, which is great. So my question is, during that time where you were going to shorts and then you got to your first series, what was the process in your head? Like, was there a point where you were like, I'm doing these shorts, I know where I'm going to go? Or was it consistently something that you knew you had to work really hard and it might get harder, but you were still going to go?
Well, Kevin, the shorts don't end. I just did a short yesterday.
Oh, wow.
3 days,
Oh, man.
but this I have to tell you that when I was doing Little America, the director of Little America, Nima Nurizadeh, he asked me way back when, he asked me if I would do a short film that his wife is producing and a friend of his is directing. And way back then I said, oh yeah, of course. And so now was the time to get it done. And so I did it and it was wonderful. And I actually love short films because they're very difficult to write, they're very difficult to direct, and they're really difficult to act in because you have a very short amount of time to tell the audience exactly who you are, exactly what the problem is, and a tiny amount of time to pull the audience into your orbit so that you don't lose their interest. So there's not really much difference, as in the acting end of it and the storytelling end of it, except that it's a little harder. You don't have that much time to.
I definitely, I mean, that was outside of the questions I was going to ask, but I had to because whenever I see an actress or an actor that does shorts and still consistently, no matter how popular they might be getting or whatever, that always strikes me as you're an actor's actor or actress. Like whatever it is, this is what you want to do and you're going to do it well. So I always appreciate that. That's the filmmaker in me more than the journalist in me. So I had to throw that in there somewhere. So uh, back to Tehran. So now, if you were talking to somebody who had not seen season 2 yet, let's assume that they haven't looked at it.
Mhm.
If you had to really tell them, like, this is what's happening, this is what you're going to see, but not give them details, why should they sit down and go, watch this season? Like, what is it about this season that's going to make you go, damn, I'm glad I'm sticking around after season
1? Okay, so Tehran. It does take a highbrow audience to watch it because of the fact that you have to read subtitles. There's 3, sometimes 4 languages being spoken. But it's the kind of show that if you put up with reading subtitles, you're going to get so much back because it is so thrilling. It's a white knuckle, nail biting ride. When I was just reading the episodes, this is as my preparation as an actor, just reading the episodes, I would totally forget that I'm reading the episode to work, but that I'm getting lost in the story. I'd get to the end of an episode and my mouth was gaped open because of the twist that they had. And it was just, it's such a great show. It's such a fun show to watch. And I don't know if you happen to like the character of Nahid Kamali.
one?
Nahid kicks butt in season 2.
Awesome. And so, what do you have coming up after? I mean, I'm assuming that you'll have some space. Maybe you'll have some space between, and then all of a sudden they're going to say, "Hey, maybe season 3," and you'll have to bunch those in. But what do you have going on as an actress going forward in your career so far in the next couple of months or
So
years?
if there's going to be a season 3, please let me know. So you can get my number from Annie, and and I have a number of things going on, but as you know, these days you sign NDAs with everything, where you sign away your firstborn, and so I'm not allowed to speak. But I could tell you, I'm going to be doing a lot of voiceover work that we've already began, and there's a couple TV series that are on streaming platforms that I will be on.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you again. Cannot stress enough. Legitimate, huge fan of the show, of your character, the character arc, how they've written for you. It's been awesome to watch. I'm excited to rewatch season 2 again after talking to you because you sold me, so I'm good. But I appreciate you sitting down with me, and I will be watching and hope everything keeps going well in your career, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to spend this time with you.
Thank you.